Good afternoon. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. If you could all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, is there any public comment? Okay, we'll jump to agenda item number 4, verification of the posting of the agenda, please.
The agenda was posted on the 13th of March between the hours of 4 and 5 at all the locations listed on the agenda in accordance with statutes.
Thank you, Crystal. Can I get an approval of this agenda as submitted?
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of this agenda as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. 6, consideration of possible action, approval of the minutes of the meeting held on February 19th, 2025, February 19th, 2025 budget hearings, and February 20th, 2025 budget hearings. A motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Our first appointment, 7A, presentation of employee service awards for the first quarter of 2025, and I'll pass it to Jim Barbie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you guys would go ahead and take your spot, and I'll get, Joe, would you help shutter the plaques over? So each quarter, we recognize our employees when they hit milestones of service with the county, because we appreciate their hard work and dedication and commitment to the county. And so we'll start with our first awardee, Shelley Chamberlain, Public Defender's Office, 5 years of service. Round of applause for her. Not here. Still like to applaud. Our next awardee, also with the Public Defender's Office, 5 years of service, Emily Tunsil. Is Emily here? Well, it's gone well so far. I see a bunch of juvenile probation officers in the back, so I'm guessing we're going to be in good shape on this one. With 10 years of service, Kenneth Ty. Congratulations, Kenneth. Got to get your picture. You guys move in there like you like each other. Fake it till you make it. Good job. Also with 10 years of service from the Comptroller's Office, Deanna Toom. Congratulations. Now our next round of applause, sorry. Our next recipient is going for some kind of major milestone award. I would inform her that she's 10 years off from being able to hit Mike Wilden's record for the state at Health, who had 45 years in the PERS systems. But we sure appreciate her service with 35 years, court services, Brenda Ingram. Clearly 10 years to go. Congratulations to all our awardees, our employees, and their dedication to the county.
Congratulations to everyone, and thank you for your service. Move on to 7B, consideration of possible action, update of current activities, plans, or actions related to the Bureau of Land Management, Carson City District.
That one.
That might be the one that doesn't.
Thank you.
It works.
Okay. Mark Mazza, Assistant Field Manager, Bureau of Land Management.
Nate Pepe, Assistant Field Manager, Stillwater Field Office, Non-Renewable Resources.
Okay, we wanted to start with some condensed updates. Well, I guess we should start with some personnel updates. Catherine Dyer, who is the acting Stillwater Field Manager, she's back in her full-time position in Reno at the state office. They do have a selection for a full-time Stillwater Field Manager. There's no determined start date yet, but that would be a permanent field manager, so we'd be done with the acting field managers that have been every 4 months for a while now. Starting with the condensed updates for NDAA, we're still working on Sand Canyon Road realignment. There's been regular meetings between BLM and Bureau of Reclamation regarding the Sand Canyon Road, figure out next steps, including the maintenance. BLM, Nevada Department of Agriculture, Navy, and the grazing permittees have all been meeting regularly about the withdrawals and how they're going to affect and amend the grazing permits for those ranges. Our priority right now is those B16 grazing allotments for the Lahontan and Horse Mountain grazing allotments around the B16. BLM and Bureau of Reclamation continues to work through the withdrawal revocation process for Churchill County's top 2 priorities. Also, BLM is a cooperating agency for the Great Basin Pipeline realignment and the State Route 361 road realignment, which goes down by Gabbs, and that's for the B17 range for the pipeline and the highway that need to be moved to accommodate that expansion. And our next IEC meeting is coming up soon. We'll talk about all these items in more detail March 24th at 2 p.m. here in Fallon. Next updates about Wild Horse and Burro. We're actually doing our census flights right now this week. They're staying down in Hawthorne to do the Mineral County herds, flying those. They started on Monday, and they'll be doing those for about 6 days. The ones planned for this year, we try to hit each herd every other year. And we're doing the Pilot Table herd, Marietta herd, which is the Burro herd that we gathered 2 years ago, Pine Nuts, Garfield Flat herd, the Wassuck herd, which is also down by Hawthorne, the Montgomery Pass herd, which we co-manage with U.S. Forest Service, Inyo National Forest, California, the Lahontan herd area, and the rest of those, or the next 2 are a complex of herd management areas that are in the North of Reno area that we're flying. And then finally, the last one that we're censusing is the Desitoya Range. We've done 3 gathers in the Desitoya Range over the past few years. It's one that is kept very close to the appropriate management level. There's a lot of sage grouse resources and different wildlife resources in that herd. As far as planning, we're in the public comment period on the preliminary EA for the Lahontan Gather EA. So that's our top priority, to do the NEPA for the gather for the Lahontan herd. And our second priority there is the North Complex for those ones north of Reno. And we'll be starting on that once we get to some milestones with the Lahontan Gather EA. One that I don't have on this slide that's maybe relevant, the Forest Service did issue a gather decision for the Montgomery Pass herd. They did that recently. But the update for our office is as a co-manager on that herd, we're going to be starting a new management plan on the Montgomery Pass herd with Forest Service and with Bishop BLM. And we got a meeting scheduled to kick that off. Those horses are the ones that go down to Mono Lake and have a lot of public interest in those horses.
So our 2 priority geothermal projects in Churchill County consists of Dixie Meadows. We're currently working with the Navy, United States Fish and Wildlife Service, and ORMAT to finalize the required environmental baselines, which will be required for the NEPA. Our other geothermal project is Diamond Flat. It's an exploration project. NEPA is in progress. We're working with the contractor on a timeline. Additionally, BLM is also requesting a memorandum of agreement with the State Historic Preservation Office for a historical treatment plan. minerals projects in Churchill County that are priorities now consist of the Bell Mountain Mine. There was a recent change in ownership to Lincoln Resource Group. We did approve the NEPA, the environmental assessment for the mine, back in 2020. The operator and owner were having funding issues and ended up selling the company to Lincoln Resource Group. They're now working with the state and BLM on a final design and pre-construction phase to start activities on a small open pit heap leach pad. Cosmo Dixie Exploration has 2 notices near Dixie Meadows for a total of 3 drill pads. They're exploring for lithium brine. Just yesterday, which is not on this slide, the contractor working for Cosmo Dixie Exploration reached out to BLM to inform them that they are going to upgrade this to an exploration plan. It'll be a total disturbance of about 23 acres and upping the number of proposed drill pads from 3 to 5.
Okay, also, like Nate's slide, there was a few that didn't make it on here. I talked to our recreation staff yesterday, and a lot of the updates were about Sand Mountain. So as you all know, Easter is a big weekend at Sand Mountain, so they're getting ready for the plan and making sure they have adequate staffing over at Sand Mountain for that big weekend. They're also doing some paving work. Right now they're working on a helipad, so they're paving the helipad, and then later they'll be coming back and they'll be doing the paving on the road in April and May. There's also free helmets for youth on Easter weekend from the Renowned Children's Hospital and Nevada Outdoors School. And separately, we did a district-wide kickoff for a grouping of all our OHV special recreation permits in our district. That was about 2 weeks ago, and we'll be reaching out to all the interested parties for the different grazing allotments and areas of interest those go by, talking about the routes and the dates and sharing maps and seeing if folks have feedback prior to doing the decision for that. Lastly, some other realty projects besides the NDAA ones. So the Green Lake North, which is a transmission line, mostly traveling the Highway 50 corridor. The last update was there were some slight reroutes that were requested from the proponent once they got on the ground, mostly dealing with construction and feasibility. I know those have been reviewed by the team, and they're trying to determine if that's going to be able to proceed with a simple letter of authorization and some surveys, or if there's going to need to be another decision for those reroutes. And then we also haven't kicked this project off yet, but it was somebody felt it was important enough to put on here, is the railroad spur right away west of Fallon. The applicant is Western Emulsions. Right away is for 450 feet by 32 feet, and we'll know a lot more about it next time we're here. Any questions for BLM?
Any questions or comments from board or staff? Go ahead.
On the, I guess people call them wild horses, is there any talk about, it seems like we just go through this revolving, round them up. They increase in numbers, round them up again. Is there any talk of a more efficient way to manage these through, I don't know, maybe sterilization of some stud horses, or, you know, that's one thing I hear all the time. You know, we've got feedlots here and we're feeding these horses, and it's just a constant revolving door. And I'm sure you guys are at the tip of that spear, and there's got to be a better way to do this.
Yeah, our gather schedule is actually, it's from our headquarters office, so it's not even something that we determine here in the Carson City office, which sometimes is a challenge, right, to keep them at the level that we would like to. It's based on funding and the space that they have in those corrals. So if they don't have enough space to conduct a gather, they very well might want to, but if they have nowhere to put them, then they can't do that. They did a few years ago, as you all probably know, they tried an incentive program to see if they could get more horses adopted. It's a small fraction of the horses that actually get adopted. However, it doesn't really, make an impact on reducing the holding corral, although it's great when people do, and there's a lot of good stories that come out of that. Beyond that, I think a lot of things require legislation to change, is my understanding.
Okay, I think,
Any other questions? Okay, thank you guys for your time. 7C, consideration of possible action, approval of professional service agreement between Churchill County and Sanborn for 2 aerial imagery projects totaling $120,179.72. Denise?
Good afternoon. Denise Felton, Churchill County Assessor for the record. Presented for your approval is a professional services agreement between Churchill County and Sanborn for 2 aerial imagery flights. Aerial imagery is one of the main sources of discovery of new property by the assessor's office. Our office utilizes this imagery daily. The imagery is also utilized by other departments in the county, such as building, planning, as well as the sheriff's office and police department. The Assessor's Technology Fund has financed aerial photography flights since 2011. This flight was included on our 2025 budget. However, we altered the boundaries. Trying to get them all lined up sometimes can be challenging. So it resulted in a slight increase over the submitted budget amount. We are also requesting to schedule the flight so we can get in the queue, so we can get that flown for our reappraisal area that will be utilized for the reappraisal area this year. And if approved, the 26 flight will be included in the 26-27 budget. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? Okay, motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the professional services agreement between Churchill County and Sanborn, and to authorize the chairman to sign the agreement, which will be you.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you for your time, Denise.
Thank you.
We'll jump to 8, legislative updates. A, consideration of possible action, update on the status of all bills in the 2025 Nevada legislature, and support or opposition to any bills that has an impact on county government or the citizens of Churchill County. Joe?
All right. Sadly, there's a lot of them, so please bear with me. Here, I'll start from the low numbers, might be easier for everyone. So I'd like to start with AB 51. We discussed this a little while back in our last meeting. It revises provisions relating to public records. This would allow for the county to charge a reasonable fee for the gathering and creation of a record, which would be beneficial. This is something that has been discussed numerous times in our NACO meetings and things like that, and I think a lot of people are in support, but it does have a tough hill to climb as far as public records requests are concerned, and so we're keeping our eye on this. The next one is AB 66. This is the bill that would establish an expansion of the district court here in Churchill County from 1 judge to 2 judges. This is something that I believe the expectation is that the county commission will either be supportive or not supportive of to have an action taken. Doesn't have to be today, but I'd expect sometime in the next, probably next meeting, if there's an interest in it, to have a formal action taken by this board as to what their desires are in either expanding the district court or not. AB 70 is important to the county and to the extent that we are a growing community for renewable energy projects. This bill would require the director of the Office of Energy and the governor's office to consider written comments by the Board of County Commissioners in regard to an application for an abatement in taxes. So generally, we've been favorable of this type of action. I don't know that our comments will be worth a lot to them, but it does at least give the Board of County Commissioners an ability to reflect on the project and engage in that process. if you want to take any action on any of these, please let me know, and we can either do it as we go through them or at the end.
I think we'll wait till the end, just keep going for now.
AB 104 and SB 36 are two water bills that are currently going through the legislature. They're very similar bills having to do with conjunctive management as well as a water rights retirement program. Our, I guess, water liaison, Chris Mahana, is working on both of these bills and trying to ensure that whatever impacts that would be onto Churchill County are either in our best interest or reduced as far as a mitigation concern. There is not currently a lot of fiscal impacts expected, but it would be potentially something that would be helpful to the county long-term to have a confirmed conjunctive management plan through the state engineer's office, just so that we have an idea of what is going to be expected as development continues. AB 109 is the water as it relates to geothermal projects. This is still being shopped around by all of the geothermal folks as to what impacts are expected and whether or not this is actually going to even receive a hearing. The last I checked, it hadn't received a hearing, so that means it probably won't happen, but there's no guarantees in that. Last time we discussed AB 218 was a bill that related to the establishment of a requirement in the court system to send text messages to people who are involved in court proceedings. This was expected to have a substantial fiscal cost. That has been amended and those provisions have been removed. And so this bill has been essentially gutted in terms of impacts to the counties. And so they're still working on exactly how it's going to be done, whether it's going to be done via a grant from the Administrative Office of the Courts or something along that direction, but it will not be coming in the form of legislation at this time. So that has been good news for everyone. Similar to one of our earlier bills is AB 226. It relates to tax credits and tax abatements as well. This requires that the governor's office, when they're considering a tax abatement, create a community benefit plan from the company that is planning on engaging in business in that area to describe specifically what benefits they will be bringing to the county in a way that isn't specifically tied to their zoning and planning, which could be potential exactment problems. And by engaging at this stage, whether it's fire or police or parks or other benefits that could be provided to the counties, they can be done in a process that relates to their tax abatements where there is authority to do so instead of at the planning stage when there is no authority to do so. And so I'm not sure. Story County said they weren't the push behind this bill. They've been the push behind some of the other tax abatement related bills. But this one was potentially beneficial to Churchill County as development occurs. There are some, there's a bill requiring additional disability assistance for people at public meetings to have a live translation for people who are deaf. This bill would originally have required a substantial amount of expenditure to create a requirement that we have a consultant of someone who would come and provide live transcription. The word is that this will be changed to allow for an electronic or a AI-related transcription that would be much more cost-effective than a live person. And so this has gone from a substantial fiscal impact to something more reasonable. AB 307 is the elimination of excise taxes on the wholesale sale of cannabis. Currently, Churchill County does not allow for wholesale or retail sale of cannabis products. I bring this up because the wholesale portion is the part that goes to the counties, whereas the retail portion is the part that goes to the state. And so this provision would have extreme impact on the county revenue associated with cannabis production, while having very limited impact on the state. And so it sort of goes against part of the major push that was done when the cannabis industry was coming in about how it would be beneficial to the counties. This sort of eliminates the county portion. So it doesn't currently affect us, but in the event that Churchill County wanted to change its position related to the cannabis industry, this could have a significant impact. It is being contested by all of the larger counties that do currently have this type of cannabis industry, but we're keeping our eye on it for the benefit of the county's options in the future. Sorry, there's still more. There are a couple of bills in the legislature regarding information being posted on county websites, specifically vendor and purchase information made by the county. This is SB 71. There's a similar bill for planning and development issues that are going on in the county to be posted on the websites. These are typically not large fiscal impacts directly. They're just a regulatory issue that has to be done all the time, and so there will be just time for current staff and employees to do an additional amount of work. I mostly just want to let everyone know that these are out there, and so it's going to be likely that over the next legislature, including this one, our website and portals are going to have to become significantly more nimble in providing information to the public. This is more of a CCCOM one, but since I don't have a legislature part for the CCCOM, SB 93 is designed to establish that when a state agency awards federal money for the development of broadband infrastructure, that it requires that it be performed at prevailing wage, which it would potentially have significant impacts in the deployment of broadband infrastructure generally. SB 94 is a bill that would exempt the state of Nevada from daylight savings time. Mostly just for your information, in case you do hear that that is out there. Currently, it's not looking likely to pass, but there is that potential. SB 116 is the annual compensation of elected county officers. That received a hearing last Wednesday. The NACO has supported that bill. It's being introduced by Senator Daley. There are a great number of different groups involved in that bill. There was an amendment on the floor at the time of that hearing, and so the current expectation is a relatively sizable increase in elected official salaries across essentially every elected position in the county, except for the judges who are in a different section, a little bit even for county commissioners, but not requesting any action at this time, but just for your awareness, it would be, I think, 30-ish% at the base. So based off the hearing, it looks like at least some form of this is likely to pass, but again, there is always opposition, and so whether that comes to fruition in a full vote is unclear at this time. All right, the last two. SB 120, this was regarding the payment plan through the courts. This was, I believe, our largest fiscal impact bill. It was a huge fiscal impact for every county, and there was a planned amendment again to remove almost all of the portions of the bill that relate to payment plans for anything other than public defender fees. And so that would resolve most of our fiscal impact, and that is good news for the county. I must have missed which one, so I think it's SB 355. This is a very important bill, I think, for the county. From a general perspective, its design is for tax abatements for energy-related projects. Currently, there's a requirement in the abatement process that the fiscal impact associated with the project, that the abatement does not exceed the fiscal benefit to the county. Under this bill, it would exempt from that requirement any energy facility that either does, they called it agrivoltaic production or ecovoltaic production, but essentially it could either be, if you're doing farming underneath the panels, or more applicable to us would be conservation under the panels, that you would be exempted from those requirements. And so you could potentially have even larger abatements than we already have. The definition of conservation was somewhat vague. Conservation can be very, very broadly interpreted. As you will know over time, the current plan for most of these solar facilities especially is to have the native vegetation remain underneath the solar panel. And if that's considered conservation, then essentially every solar facility we have will qualify under this, which potentially could be significantly impactful to the county. My advice would be to maybe make testimony in the neutral position as to these issues and say, look, our concern is you're talking about making significant reductions in the potential benefits to the counties. You haven't really made clear that this is anything different than putting solar panels up in the desert, as well as perhaps using it as a chance to bring to light the concern that the counties have, that is currently the way our business taxes are put on energy production facilities. You have the property tax version that is a local benefit, but the business licenses for energy facilities are taxed at the place of distribution. So if power is produced here in Churchill County and then sent to Trick, Story County gets the tax, or it's a fee, the fees. If it's distributed to Las Vegas gets the fee. If it's distributed outside of the state, no one gets the fee. And so this might be an opportunity to sort of bring that issue to light, that some level of origination fee may be beneficial, but currently it's disallowed under the statute, and so we don't really have a lot of ability to impact that without a statutory change.
Thank you, Joe. Do either one of you guys have any opinions, support, opposition to any of these bills?
Joe, do you know on that CC communication bill, would that be, have it affect monies already received or moving forward?
It shouldn't affect monies that have already been received, but it would require new projects to get it. It's unclear how it would work in terms of projects that have already received money but have not begun construction. I believe it shouldn't apply in those cases just because they weren't bid that way, but it would be something that we would have to argue, which I'd prefer not to do anyway.
Anyone else have any support or opposition? I do. AB 70, support. I don't know if you guys are going to agree. If you guys agree, then we'll make a motion to, support these or oppose these. AB 70, support. SB 3, was that 355, that last one, Joe, that you were talking about?
Yes.
You couldn't write that to convince me, we're a major energy producer, you're an exporter here. You're not gonna be able to, in my opinion, you'll never be able to weasel that in there and get that piggyback off that to get that. So I would just oppose that bill, and if that's something we want to pursue, we would address that at the next legislative cycle. I should have wrote this bigger, you gave me too many. And then support of AB 226. I've got a long list of opposition, but I think we'll just wait until we get a little bit closer and see if some of those things change inside of those bills.
So for the record for everyone, AB 70 was the one that would require the Director of the Office of Energy and the Office of the Governor to consider written comments of a Board of County Commissioners for an abatement of taxes. SB 355 was the exemption from the requirement on fiscal impacts for agri and ecovoltaic energy systems, so most of our solar producers. And AB 226 was the one that would require a community benefit plan be adopted for a tax abatement project.
Do you see any of these bills that's going to be voted on real soon that we should consider taking action today, other than the ones we mentioned?
So at this stage, most of these bills are in the process of a committee hearing, which means they're having their first hearing where they are considered by the full committee. They are not even actually usually voted on at this stage. They're just being considered by the committees. After this, there will typically be a second hearing where they get voted out of committee as to whether they're going to go to the full assembly or the full Senate. And then once they pass one house, they will again make a trip through the second house for consideration. And so a final vote on any of these is not going to be anytime too soon, but I would just mention that the way the legislature works is they can pretty much do anything they like to do. The final votes are going to be expected next month, I think, for the vast majority of bills, at least in the first house.
But for the record, this is Jim Barbie, but anyone that you guys have concerns with, great concern with, or great support of, the sooner that you guys make a decision, the sooner then that we can get on the record representing the county on our support or opposition to those.
Again, and that I am fully in support of that. Sometimes if you make comments after the third hearing, you're less likely to get any impact related to those comments.
Okay, well, I'll go through my whole list then. AB 70, which I already said support. AB 226, which I said support. AB 307, which impacts on the wholesale sale of marijuana, opposed. SB 71 opposed. SB 93 opposed. Daylight saving times, I could care less. SB 94 could care less. SB 116, annual compensation for elected officials, support. SB 120, payment plans for courts, oppose. And then, like I said, SB 355, oppose. Do you want to repeat it? I think everything else that you listed, Joe, personally for me, I mean, those are all kind of ones we can kind of keep our eyes on, and like you said, some of them have been gutted as it is. But in my opinion, those ones are kind of cut and dry, support or oppose, and it is what it is.
I would just say that we really need to watch these bills because sometimes they just don't get gutted, they get stuff added. So we need to make sure that there's something that doesn't get added with a certain bill that we agree with, because they'll slip stuff in committee that maybe we don't want. So let's be real careful and pay real close attention. But I'm fine with what's been said so far, but let's make sure we stay on top of this.
I agree with Commissioner Hyde. We got to find, I mean, we're new to this, find the right time to interject our comments to make sure they're effective and we don't support it too soon. And then there's stuff that gets added to the bill that would be detrimental to the county. And I would be looking to great guidance from the DA's office to help us with that.
For the record, just Jim Barbie, if we get a bill that has significant modifications on it, would change the intent from what it was when you supported it, then we will bring that back to you for another bite at the apple along the way on this process.
Any other discussion on this? Joe, did you want a motion for those bills, or?
Yes.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that I have them all complete here. I tried to write them down as you spoke. I'm not saying that you were too fast, but I have AB 70 is supported, SB 355 is opposed, AB 226 is support, SB 307 I believe was opposed, but I just wrote that down very quickly. SB 93 was opposed, SB 71 was opposed, and SB 116 was supported.
Yes, that's correct. And then SB 120, the payment plans for the court systems, was opposed, or I had opposed on that one personally.
Okay.
There's no discussion on that. We'll leave it opposed. Anything else anyone wants to add?
What was that last one?
SB 120?
Opposed?
Opposed.
Oppose and then approve. What you got?
Yep. And then a motion whenever you're ready.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that Churchill County Commissioners show support for the following bills: AB 70, AB 226, and SB 116. Also, to include in that motion, a show of no support to Senate Bill 355, AB 307, SB 93, SB 71, and SB 120.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Before I call for a vote here, is there any public comment on any of these? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Joe. Move on to letters received. Did anyone want to pull any of those?
I don't.
Okay, we'll jump to new business. 10A, consideration and possible action, adoption of resolution 5-2025, authorizing the clerk treasurer to sell property held in trust because of unpaid taxes, directing publication of the notice of tax sale as provided in statute, and other matters properly there related to. Julie?
Hi, Julie Gilmore, Senior Deputy Clerk Treasurer, for the record. I'm asking you to adopt the resolution that he just mentioned. We've got 5 properties this year. Hopefully by the end of the week, we'll only have 4, but right now we have 5.
Thank you, Julie. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt Resolution 5-2025, authorizing the sale of property held in trust by Churchill County Clerk Treasurer for unpaid taxes and directing publication of notice of tax sale as provided by NRS 361.5953A.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you for your time, Julie.
Thank you.
10B, consideration possible action, selection of Hinton Burdick CPAs and advisors as the independent auditors for the audit for Churchill County and CC Communications for fiscal year 2025 and 2026, using the 2-year extension option. Sherry?
Thank you. Excuse me. In December 2021, we entered into a 3-year agreement with our current auditors, and that agreement included an option for a 2-year extension, and that 2-year extension allowed them to have an increase of 0 to 8%. The increase here, they came back and they didn't have any increases during that period because we had a contract. However, during that period, they had changes of scope that came into effect in that we started the operation of the senior center. We added 342 new accounts. Then the Central Nevada Health District was added, so they need to do a single audit on them and additional accounting options. So what they've done is they've separated that out to be billed to Central Nevada Health District, $7,500 for 2025, and $8,100 in 2026. I've sent these numbers to Darren at the Health District. So what they're asking is for 2025 would be a $93,300, and then for 2026 would be $107,764, and then that would be, then we would possibly go out to bid if we wanted to get different auditors. However, when we did go out to bid in 2017, our previous auditor was still above these fees right now. So I don't know if you have any questions or concerns?
Any questions or comments from board or staff?
So the contract price for 2025 is $93,300,
Yes, however, we split that with CCCOM, so the county portion would only be half.
and then 2026, I couldn't understand what you said. there.
100, yeah, sorry, $100,764.
Dollar, okay.
So it's going up 11% in '25 and 8% in '26. I talked to them and we tried to spread it out, because what we were looking for each year was more like a 22% increase due to the increased workload and different audit requirements that have come out and been required within the period of the last contract.
And it's a 50% split every time with
Yes.
CCCOM?
Yes.
Any other questions from board or staff? Any public comment? If none, a motion, please. Just a second.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't get the contract until last night, those two numbers, the bottom ones.
Use those two numbers?
Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to use the 2-year extension option for the audit contract to Hinton Burdock CPAs and Advisors for the audit of the annual comprehensive financial report for Churchill County, including all the enterprise funds for the fiscal years ending June 30th, 2025 and 26, for the maximum price of $108, I cannot say that, $108,000, does that sound right? No,
93.
no, it's the, she wants me to.
That's the combined.
$100,800 for 25, and then for 26, $108,864. This price is inclusive of the hours incurred to prepare the financial statements and related notes as outlined in 2017 request for proposals.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
You're fine.
Consent items, a motion to approve that as submitted.
I'll write that down.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve consent as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. We'll jump to Commissioner and Management Staff Report. We'll start with you, Matt.
None today, thank you.
I had a library strategic plan meeting to come up with our strategic plan for the next 5 years. I had a Lawton Valley Conservation District meeting. I did want to give a shout out to Christy Sullivan. She has a tree sale going on, which she partnered with Churchill County FFA on. Deadline to submit forms for that is April 4th, and the sale day is actually May 3rd. And I also had a Central Nevada Regional Water Authority meeting. Eric?
Had a Stillwater Conservation meeting, as normal business there. The museum, usual business there. They are having their spring lecture series right now. And they have about 50 to 60 people last night, so they said come on down. They're getting ready to change out some displays. The fire board, we had interviews for the fire marshal, and we were able to select a candidate that will be recommended to the city council and the county commission in the near future. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Eric. Sherry?
Just budgets, thank you.
Joe?
I'd love to regale you with some more bills here coming up, I'm sure, at our next meeting. Other than that, we have been busy. We'll be having interviews for another attorney candidate next week, so we're excited for that. It's in the criminal office, but we're still excited.
Jim? Pam?
I don't have anything, but I would just mention that Linda's not here today because she has a bouncing baby grandson again. So she's up taking care of the older one.
Congratulations to her.
Actually, Miles, I do have something.
Go ahead.
The Fountain Youth Club, we're getting ready for all the events, fundraisers, so be looking for the golf tournament. It is scheduled for July. Still more to come on that, and also the dinner. Not changing the price of the dinner this year. So that there will be more to come on that. And I also have CART meeting at 3:30 today, so we'll get some things ironed out there.
Okay, thank you. Crystal? Okay, this is our last time for public comment. Noting no public comment, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.